Chapter 24 Magic Activation Examination. Zhang Xiaohou glanced at Shui Mesheng, and then took one glance at the practical teacher, Tong Yue. Do your best, teacher believes in you. The one who said this was the practical teacher, Tong Yue. Zhang Xiaohou nodded as he walked to the side of the star appraisal stone. Closing his eyes, Zhang Xiaohou adjusted his breathing and slowly entered a meditative state. The radiance emitted from the star appraisal stone flickered. It followed Zhang Xiaohou's breath as it brightened and dimmed. It was easy to tell that Zhang Xiaohou was slightly nervous, which explained why the star appraisal stone was unable to grasp the energy from his stardust. However, Zhang Xiaohou slowly entered the meditative state. At last, the radiance stabilized. The cyan-colored radiance from the wind element covered the surroundings of the star appraisal stone, and the radiance was superior to He-Yu's. Other than being a bit unstable, there was no other fuss about it. A+. The three examiners seemed to have different views regarding it. Teacher, let me try one more time. Zhang Xiaohou didn't seem pleased with this result. Thus, he once more entered a meditative state. This time, he was considerably calmer. The intense radiance covered the star appraisal stone's surroundings. It was apparent that it was much stronger than He-Yu's. Additionally, there didn't appear to be any unstable flickering from it anymore. The three examiners glanced at each other and nodded. A+, final results, A+. After they announced the results, the students of his class all showed shock and envy. Crap, A+. That's a grade that secures your place in the elite class. This kid, Zhang Xiaohou's lifestyle, is just mediocre, so who would have thought that his cultivation would be so amazing? We were mistaken. We really were mistaken. That's really amazing. If I could get A+, then my dad would immediately gift me a car. Shui Mesheng and Tong Yue, the two teachers, gave a slight smile as they nodded their heads. Their eyes were filled with praise. Zhang Xiaohou had always been an outstanding student to them, thus, having this kind of result was well within reason. Classmate, you're done. We will assess accordingly. The bald examiner was about to announce the final result. Teacher, I'd like to attempt the next test. At this moment, Zhang Xiaohou's expression was firm, but his face showed a shyness as he said this. Are you sure? The examiner asked, a bit surprised. I know that the higher you place in the rankings during the annual examination, then the longer you will get to use the Stardust magic tool. Thus, I'd like to take the activation test, Zhang Xiaohou said with certainty. Shui Mesheng and Tong Yue maintained the smiles on their faces. They already knew that Zhang Xiaohou had reached the level of activation. The examination consisted of two parts. The first part was the Stardust test. The majority of the students only needed to complete this part to continue to study magic at Magic High. While the second part was set up for the top students, out of over 1,000 students, there were roughly only 100 or so who had touched upon the level of activation. If one can activate the elemental skill during the examination, then naturally they would be awarded more points for the annual examination. To obtain more of the limited resources from the school, the students would have to display all of their powers during the annual examination, without hiding anything. Zhang Xiaohou's activation test didn't go particularly smoothly. He was so nervous that he was unable to properly link the 7 wind element stars with each other to form a star path. However, the examiners were able to see that this student was capable of activation, but due to being nervous on the testing grounds, he was unable to activate successfully. However, they still gave him some points based on his performance. Feeling somewhat disappointed, Zhang Xiaohou walked out of the testing ground with his head low. Mrs. Tong Yue was like a tender older sister when she patted Zhang Xiaohou's shoulder. Don't feel discouraged. You will definitely be able to enter the elite class with your grades. Teacher, I thought I was proficient in control, but who would have thought that a little nervousness would cause the time I spent practicing control to disappear mysteriously, making me start from the beginning. Teacher, how are you able to accomplish the magic activation so easily? Zhang Xiaohou asked. Naturally, it's from practicing. Other than that, the state of your heart is also crucial. Not only does a qualified magician need to have a solid foundation, but they also need to have a mentality that won't waver if they encounter trouble. Zhang Xiaohou nodded as he seemed to understand this. Next, Huang Feifeng. B. Teacher, I should receive an A. I should be given an A. If you make more noise, we'll cancel your results. Next, Luo C. The student called Luo C jumped for joy. For a failure of a student like him, receiving C was like New Year's. The students of 8th class were receiving their examinations, one by one. The majority of the students were B and C. There didn't seem to be many A's. Look, the people of the school council are almost here. They are at the 7th class exam grounds. The one taking the test is that lightning element guy. Shu Jiaoting, that is firmly the #1 guy in the entire school. That's not certain. I heard Mu Bai's cultivation is also very high. As Mo Fan heard his classmates' discussion, his gaze turned toward the 7th class exam grounds. Sure enough, the school council group included the particularly outstanding Mu Ningzhu, who had already walked to the vicinity. Old brother Mu Zhouyan, this is our school's most outstanding lightning element student. His name is Shu Jiaoting. When he awakened his lightning element a year ago, I, as the principal, began to pay close attention to him. He's currently doing the activation test. Care to watch? The principal of Tianlan Magic High said to Mu Zhouyan. The principal was very polite toward Mu Zhouyan, thus, it was obvious that Mu Zhouyan's status within Bo City was very high. Ningzhu, why don't you take a look at this student's performance? Mu Ningzhu nodded. Lightning element, the first of the elements. Its violent, destructive force was enough to make other magicians take several steps back. Within the examination grounds, Shu Jiaoting, who wore the school uniform, was already there. He adjusted his breathing, as well as trying to make peace with the pressuring gazes coming from the students and teachers of the entire school. Ever since he had entered the school, he had become the focal point for them. These gazes were incessantly urging him to cultivate. Heed my command. The first of the elements, lightning. Strike of lightning. As the sounds faded, he raised a hand. The purple lightning arc surged. It was as though the Serpent King called out to the violent python soldier. They slithered their shocking body, twirling through the atmosphere and burning everything they touched. Activate! The electric arc violently descended upon the human-shaped puppet. The puppet violently trembled. It was charred from the drop of the violent lightning strike. The electricity crackled around, covering it with whip prints. The human-shaped puppet exploded with no remains in a single moment by the force of the lightning. On the floor of the training grounds, there were strips of black marks. It looked extremely terrifying. The puppet had already turned into a pile of black dust. The heaven-defying lightning element skill immediately stole the attention of the entire exam grounds, causing the elite students who were also able to activate skills to take a deep breath. Holy cow! Who cares about wind trail? Who cares about water barrier? What fire burst? They are all weak. The tyrannical power of the lightning strike was not something the other elements could compare themselves to. It directly caused the puppet to explode into dregs. This destructive power, whoever was standing there would die instantly. Chapter 25 Ice Element, Ice Spread. After Shu Jiaoting saw this result, his face revealed satisfaction. As he turned around, he, who was waiting for the examiners to deliver his results, suddenly noticed a pair of beautiful eyes that were like snow. It was Mu Ningzhu. Shu Jiaoting's face was filled with pleasant surprise. He didn't think his examination would catch Mu Ningzhu's attention. She was definitely startled. After all, the power of lightning element wasn't something any other element could compare to. Ningzhu, what do you think? The school supervisor, Mu He, asked with a smile across his face. Average. Mu Ningzhu didn't take another look and chose to continue advancing forward. The principal and the other few people in the school council became stiff. No way, a lightning element this strong and she still thought it was normal? Just how high were this girl's standards? That's actually not bad. Ningzhu is an Empire institution. All of the geniuses in the country gather there. The activation of the primary skill, lightning strike, is the most basic skill there. The reason as to why she thinks it's average is because she has a habit of using the standards of Empire institution to assess. Mu Zhouyan smiled as he explained this, giving the principal and the group of people in the school council a way out of this awkward situation. If you put it like that, does that mean Shu Jiaoting has students with the potential to enter Empire Institute? The principal was also someone who understood how to deal with situations. He took advantage and asked this. The other people immediately copied what he said. If things go well, then Shu Jiaoting's grades will be the best in the entire school, right? School director, Chen Guangliang, said. That's hard to say. From what I know, Mu Bai from the 8th class is also quite capable. Vice principal replied. Hearing them saying this, A smile emerged on Mu He's face as he immediately spoke to Mu Joyun and Mu Ningju. Older brother, Mu Bai is a disciple from our Mu family. His grades have always been quite remarkable. From how I see it, it should be his turn soon. Should we go and watch? Mu Bai? Which families? He's Mu Yang's son. When Mu Yang passed away, I saw Mu Bai and his mother being bullied by others somewhere. Thus, I brought them to live in the manor. Mu Bai is a very intelligent and determined child. He's no worse than the other kids of our family. Oh, there's naturally a huge gap compared to Mu Ningju, but he's still a seedling worth raising, Mu He cautiously said to Mu Joyun. The highest authority over the manor was completely within Mu Joyun's hands. Mu He counted as a lord, as well, however, he was just a 3rd or 4th degree lord. That was simply not on par with Mu Joyun. Oh, that slightly rings a bell. Then let's go and have a look. How about it, school directors? Mu Joyun asked. The school director with the split hair that was gradually losing its color said, "Since it is a disciple of your Mu family, we are definitely interested." The group of people began to walk, slowly making their way to the exam grounds of the 8th class. The aura of this group of people was very strong. In the eyes of the students, the directors may be a faintly discernible existence. However, Mu Ningju, a genius of the same age as them, was something incredible. On the grounds, the male students saw the girl observing from the side. Heavens, the group of directors is coming here. They really came. My hands are trembling. Good timing. Just in time for me to show off. Show off my ass. Your test is already over. You're just a dreg with a C. The students of the 8th class were unable to calm themselves. Every student's fate depended on the annual examination. While at the same time, the group of school directors who could change their future with just a single, praising glance were coming over. This caused the examination to have an exceedingly heavy atmosphere. Mu He was walking to the very front. The bald examiner immediately raised his head and glanced at Mu He. As Mu He hinted to him, the bald examiner immediately understood what he meant. He first pretended to not see anything before he indifferently said, "Next, Mu Bai." Mu Bai's eyes were still placed on Mu Ningju's body. Even though the two lived in the same castle, it was still so big that Mu Bai has only been this close to Mu Ningju just a few times before. Mu Bai, it's your turn. Mu He coughed to remind Mu Bai. Only then did Mu Bai come back to his senses. What could he do? He liked her for far too many years. Even if it were rather impossible for him to walk with her, he still wouldn't freaking let that trash, Mo Fan, take her away. He would be her bodyguard. It was time to prove the efforts of the past years. Mu Bai nodded before he began walking toward the exam grounds. He had been waiting for this for a long time. Mu Bai took a deep breath. To have the attention of the family and Mu Ningju, these were things Mu Bai could only dream of, and today was the day where both would come true. As he placed his hand on the star appraisal stone, Mu Bai repressed his excitement within his heart as much as possible. In this aspect, Mu Bai had actually practiced for a long time. Even if he felt more excited and nervous than anyone, he relied on his past training to complete a proper and stable meditation. A white and dense, icy wave quickly spread out from the star appraisal stone and covered the surroundings. This ice wave was so strong, it overflowed from the star appraisal stone and made even Mu Bai feel its cold on his face. All of the teachers and students watched this scene, entranced. The radiance was overflowing. This was perhaps the first time they have seen something like this happen during an exam. Even Joman, who received an A, was quite inferior to the overflowing radiance of Mu Bai. S. The 3 examiners immediately announced their grades, and all of them were S's. I remember Xu Jiaoting from before had 2 S and an A, right? In that case, Mu Bai's stardust is more superior than Xu Jiaoting. Mu He immediately said. At this moment, Shui Misheng was astonished by this sight. This Mu Bai had hidden his true power? As expected of the disciple of a noble family. I thought Mu Bai would only get 1 S, at most. Who would have thought that he would receive 3 S's? 3 S's, the final result is naturally S. These were without a doubt the best grades in the school. Shit, Mu Bai is too amazing. He unexpectedly received 3 S's. These grades directly shake Xu Jiaoting from Class 7 off. Thus, Mu Bai will be worthy of the title, number 1. I never imagined. Mu Bai, you're far too amazing. A few girls, at this moment, had already become completely infatuated with him. Mu Bai was handsome, and his grades were outstanding. He was simply the knight on the white horse in their hearts. Big brother, what do you think? Mu He laughed as he asked Mu Joyan to his side. Not bad, Mu Joyan gave a brief comment. Mu Ningju, however, didn't say anything. Seeing Mu Ningju not react, Mu Bai knew that getting 3 S's, in Mu Ningju's opinion, was nothing impressive. This was the activation test. It was also the time for him to show off his true strength. Mu Bai turned around and walked to the middle of the exam grounds. Mu Bai is taking the activation test. No shit, Mu Bai has definitely grasped the control of 7 stars. I can't wait to see the skill of Ice Element. As they were discussing this, Mu Bai had already fixated his gaze onto the human-shaped puppet. That's right, the Stardust test was only the basics. The people who had a brain were very clear on the fact that the activation test was the true assessment test. I will definitely have Family Head and Mu Ningju take notice of me. He closed his eyes and began his magic incantations. Mu Bai skillfully made the 7 ice element stars connect with each other to form a star path.